All right, hey everybody, Teching 101 back again. Are you guys ready for a Christmas episode? This is the most holiday cheer Bleach episode ever. Mayori might as well be Santa Claus, I tell you. Okay, this will be Bleach episode 36 of the Thousand Year Blood War arc, titled Baby Hold Your Hand 2, Never Ending My Dream. My goodness, I was waiting for this portion of the fight. I see what they're doing. You know, we had an episode with Mayori, then an episode with Shunsui, then the second part with Mayori and Pernida and Nemu's fight, and then the next episode is going to continue on with Shunsui, and then the part where Nanao gets involved. So you could see a theme here. I mean, Kubo structured it a little bit differently in the manga, but you could see a theme here, kind of, where Mayori cannot defeat Pernida on his own, so then Nemu has to get involved to help him, and then Shunsui cannot defeat Lilia on his own, so Nanao steps in. Although one of them ends happily ever after, and another one doesn't end so great, but yeah, I'll let you figure out which one it is. Anywho, I was really excited for this also because we find out more about Nemu's backstory here. It was mentioned as far back as the Soul Society arc, like, what Nemu is. Mayori created her using, like, a Gigai and then, like, Mod Soul technology, but it's a little bit more complicated than that, and we're going to see that there were failures before Nemu finally arrived, but we get a little bit of character development on, like, how Mayori views Nemu and everything in this episode, which I'm not gonna say it's sweet because it's Nemu and it's... Which, you know, I'm not going to say it's sweet because it's Mayori, and it's still really jacked up, but, you know, he's at least improved slightly since the Soul Society arc at any rate, and he's even kind of aware of that, and it's kind of something that probably doesn't make him feel all jolly inside, but, you know, all right. So, we continue where we left off at the end of episode 34. It's interesting because we see this scene at the beginning of the last episode, the fight with, you know, when Shunsui and Lilia fight in the last episode. It opened with Ashisoki Jizo being ruptured from inside, and it's like, oh, clearly the fight's not over yet. So we do see that here, but we have a little bit of an added scene that wasn't in the last episode, right? So Mayori has his, you know, modified Bankai. Ashisoki Jizo gets born that's able to devour Pernida, and it's like, oh yes, it has 70,000 different epidermal layers of nerves. You couldn't possibly hope to defeat all of them, you know? And so he does his victory laugh, his mad scientist laugh, and then immediately is like, ah ha ha ha, oh, by the way, how does your tummy feel, Ashisoki Jizo? It might take a while to digest after all. You did swallow 3 giant arms, but everything should be fine. He does also bring up, it was probably a smart idea last minute for me to decide not to have you born with teeth. They probably would have just multiplied infinitum, and then you would have just ruptured from the inside out. So Mayori praises himself for that idea. However, even with that decision, it's still not great, because the Ashisoki Jizo begins to rupture anyway, begins to explode, and a bunch of bodily fluid ruptures out. Mayori gets knocked backwards, and we get the reveal that Pernida is a Quincy. I kill foes with bows and arrows. And this scene is great because Pernida, like, is talking in a very, like, childish kind of way at first, like a very high-pitched kind of voice. It's like, Pernida is Quincy. Pernida kills foes with bows and arrows. Did you forget? And Mayori is just like, ah, yes, I strike this. Listen, he strikes this expression and he's like, no, 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 I have not forgotten. I just didn't think the left arm of the Soul King would do something so embarrassing as use a bow and arrow to fight. Oh shit, I completely forgot about that. You know, seriously, I like to think that's canon. I like to think it's canon that Mayori actually did forget, holy shit, Pernida is a Quincy and can still use bows and arrows, because Pernida's abilities up until now had nothing to do with the bows and arrows, right? Pernida's abilities clearly is the left arm of the Soul King, is using some weird-ass nerve power, is turning into a giant hand, you know, has a weird, you know, eyeball, you know, 2 pupils, and it can, like, multiply itself and shit like that. So there was never a point where, you know, Mayori has to worry about, like, standard Quincy techniques or anything like that. So I like to think, maybe I'm wrong, maybe Mayori did predict this or whatever, and he's just, you know, whatever, but I think he did actually legitimately forget. He forgot that, wait a second, forgot to factor in the Quincy bow, you know, thing here. But at any rate, I just find that funny. So it's like, okay, now at this point, Pernida begins to speak in the vocabulary immediately changes, as well as the tone of the voice. So at one point, Pernida is like, I kill foes with bows and arrows. And then, like, voice drops immediately. It just, like, is like, well, what does it mean that declaring I'm a Quincy would be embarrassing? You know, it's just like Pernida just goes through puberty, like instantly, okay? And just, like, voice drops, and it's just like, hey, guys, how you doing? My name's Pernida. Okay. Oh, by the way, at this point, I want to show you something. So Kubo will draw like little, characters, like little artwork from the characters of a particular episode that he'll release like after that episode, and he'll usually draw them in a cool outfit, something we don't usually see in the anime, because Kubo really loves fashion. He loves fashion, putting his characters in different like jackets and shirts and cool pants and shoes and stuff like that. So Kubo for this episode drew Pernida, and my god, check this out. This hand has got drip. Look at that. Pernida wearing like sweatpants and like a cool sweatshirt, and has like a little beanie cap on its middle finger. And the little fingers are like through the sleeves of the jacket. I like that. Pernida wanted to hang out, Pernida is just like, hey, I'm gonna go on a night on the town, all right? I'm gonna get dressed up for this, Just like, it's a giant hand, though. It's like, hey, just because you're a giant left hand doesn't mean you can't have good fashion taste. You have to have a good sense of fashion for this kind of stuff, and I love that. I love that little drawing of Pernida. Okay, so, yes. So, Pernida begins to, shit-talk Mayori for shit-talking Quincy's, and just like, why do you keep saying being a Quincy is embarrassing? I've always been a Quincy. You really keep talking bad about Quincy's. It's very annoying. So Mayori is noticing that, like, yeah, it's not just its voice, but also its diction, its vocabulary, its syntax has been, like, improving significantly as the fight has been going. And because we start from when Pernida first revealed itself inside of the cloak, and, Mayori splashed the acid on it, it was crying in a way that it was like a baby almost. Like, it was kind of nonverbal. It was just like, it was like crying, and then it slowly begins to get more like, the vocabulary to the sense of like a little kid, and then like a toddler, and then like to the point now where it seems to be on the level of like, what we're going to see in a moment, it's going to be on like Kenpachi Zaraki's level. So, the speech kind of improves that way of things that it's been encountering in this fight. Now, Mayori throws out another hypothesis. Is he recovering the memories of the Soul King, or is he just evolving for some reason? I mean, Mayori did read in the book that, like, the left arm governs evolution and or advancement, and the right arm governs stillness. So, I mean, this should be a confirmation for that right now, that clearly this is the left arm, and the longer that Mayori fights this thing, the longer that it's going to, have time to advance and improve. And that's not good, because that means that, like, the more techniques you use on this thing are going to fail, right? So it starts launching a barrage of arrows. However, these arrows actually have nerves tied to the end of them. So Mayori's like, oh shit, I need to like dodge these. So he tries to dodge. One of the arrows wraps around his left arm. He activates the self-destruct feature with his arm. As we all know, Mayori has a self-destruct feature on his own arm, so nerve wraps around it. He doesn't even try to do the, like... See, this also gives you an idea of, like, Mayori is kind of up against a wall here, okay? Because the first time this happened and Mayori's nerves invaded his hand, Mayori was almost like, oh, I could just do one-handed surgery. You don't think I can reconfigure the nerves in my own hand immediately within a second or two? You think I'm that much of an inferior scientist that I can't do that? So he does that the first time. This time he doesn't even bother, because he can't, really. He knows he cannot do that anymore. So he disengages his arm, he explodes it. However, the arrow actually gets bent on the nerves on the ground. So, like, Pernida's nerves, he actually catches the arrow and then bends it back to go fly at Mayori. And he realizes, oh shit, yeah, this one's gonna hit me. I can't dodge this. I'm kind of out of tricks here, okay? Luckily, Nemu finally jumps in. This is the moment Nemu jumps in, grabs the arrow before it hits Mayori, and then immediately takes out a, like, tanto, like a small knife, and hacks off her own arm so that the nerves cannot invade her own body, right? And she hacks off her arm there. Now, question, is that Nemu's Zanpakuto? I would imagine she could. I mean, she would have a Zanpakuto, and we actually do see it there was a color spread way back in the Soul Society days, and it might have been in one of the like data books or art books, one of the earlier ones, where you see Kubo drawing all of the lieutenants of the Gotei 13, including like Kai and Shiba, okay, even though he was dead at that point, right? So you see all of the lieutenants, and you do see Nemu there way in the background, and Nemu does have kind of like a small knife that she does kind of have, I think. No, I think it might have been Nanao that has the knife there, and then she might have had like another sword, but at any rate, I'm not really sure whether or not Nemu has a Zanpakuto. It's a question that's never really definitively shown in the anime one way or the other. Like, she doesn't, like, use this to, like, activate her Shikai or anything like that. I would imagine she would be capable of having one, though, even though she is an artificial soul. I feel she could still do it, because as long as you have a soul, you can have a Zanpakuto, because the Zanpakuto, at the end of the day, is just a fragment of your own soul kind of made manifest to do its own thing. So, yeah, I mean, like, sure. But, at any rate, she cuts off her arm. Mayori uses Hinkirin boots to grab her, and they go on top of this building, which they have a moment to themselves here, which I'm kind of curious about, because earlier it was kind of shown that, like, Pernida's nerves kind of stretched, like, all over the battlefield. Like, they're on top of the buildings, they're on the sides of the buildings, they're on the ground and everything like that. So it's very nice that Pernida gives them, like, slight time to, like, you know, discuss things and have their next plan of strategy and everything like that, and also have some character development and learn a little bit about Nemu's past in the process. So they land there, and Mayori is like, you fool! If you would have fallen to the ground, you would have become meatballs right now, and I can't afford to lose you. So Nemu is like, hey, I judged that, you know, Mayori-sama was in danger, so I needed to go and save him. And this brings up a whole thing of Mayori being like, hey, I always ordered you to just step in when I tell you to. You don't think on your own. Are you telling me that you have your own will now, Nemu? Are you saying you can make your own decisions for yourself? Oh, they grow up so fast. So at this point, Mayori stops calling Nemu just Nemu and uses her full name. Namuri Nanago, or Sleeping Number 7, is her full name. It's the name of the project of where she was created. And as the name implies, she was the 7th Nemu. Okay? This was something I remember back when the chapter came out. It was like thinking about like what the other Nemus were before, you know, our Nemu. And it doesn't really get brought up in any great capacity or anything like that. It gets kind of mentioned by Akon and Squad 12 and a little bit about what the other 6 were. But a lot of them were failures. So it wasn't like numbers 1 through 6 were like fully realized as, you know, beings in the same way that Nemu was. Nemu was the first one to actually grow to adulthood and exhibit her own like personality and stuff, and has the best abilities and things like that. So Nemu is extremely taken back by that, because like Mayori just kind of stopped calling her by her full name a long time ago, and we're going to get that flashback in a moment. So it just took to calling her Nemu, and now is actually calling her by her full name again. And Mayori brings up, it's like, ever since Ichigo and his friends started showing up, and ever since the main group of this series started showing up and messing with everything, things have, you know, changed. You know, you fought a lot of really strong battles since then, and Mayori worries that maybe I taught you too much. Maybe she's learning too much, she's advancing too much. And I also think in the process, Mayori was beginning to become more sentimental towards her, at least to the sense of like, hey, up until now, she was just like a puppet for me to control. This is one part of she's now too valuable, where creating a brand new Nemu like Namuri Hachigo, which we actually do see a Namuri Hachigo by the end of the series, but making a new Nemu would be so troublesome and too problematic, so I just need to make sure that this Nemu doesn't die. So in a weird way, Mayori has kind of gained some like fatherly instincts, I guess you could say that, to the extent where it's like, I don't want Nemu or Namuri Nanago to die, and I don't want to put her in harm's way, so I'm not going to use her as like a puppet and like as you know, because like during the fight with Uryu in the Soul Society, he used Nemu as like a human shield on like multiple occasions. People actually brought up that last episode, or the last time we saw this fight 2 episodes ago, Mayori did not actually need to use Nemu as a human shield because he had Kenpachi for that, which like also does make sense. It's like, yes, well, oh great, I don't have to use Nemu here. I could just have I could just have Kenpachi run headlong into this giant hand to get his knees fucked over. I learn all the data I need from that. I don't need Nemu to do anything here. Great, saves me time. So maybe that was the case here, but no, it's very clear as he spells out to Nemu here. It's just like, do you know how long it would take me to raise or I guess create a new Nemu after you, and then that one grows into the current you? It would be too long. If you don't know, then don't act based on your own judgment. I can't have you die. It's too much of a trouble. I gotta warm up the cloning tank again, and it's, with the parameters, with the genetics and the DNA. It's a bullshit thing, Nemu. I'm not gonna be up all night resequencing DNA because you were a dumbass, all right? Now, if you understand, stand up and let's kill this giant hand. It's like, all right, yes, I understand, Lord Mayori. I understand, Mayori-sama. Okay. So we get a little bit of a flashback here to Nemu's past. This is her first memory. When she sees Mayori here. This is how Mayori looked, I guess, this would have been after the Turn Back the Pendulum, but before we get to his first appearance in the Soul Society arc, so don't have any idea how long ago this would be, like maybe 50-odd years or something like that. Turn Back the Pendulum takes place around 100 years ago, so maybe like 50 years ago, 40 years ago, something like that. This is how Mayori looked as he was the captain of Squad 12 at that point. Don't get to see this design of him very often. I was actually just thinking about this the other day. So they do a lot of filler in the anime, like before this, like they had the Ray Guy arc and everything like that, and during that arc, for a very long time, Mayori, I also think through the Zanpakuto Rebellion arc as well, Mayori had the exact same outfit as he does in the Arrancar arc. Like his like pharaoh aesthetic when he shows up, with the headdress and everything like that when he showed up to fight Sao. And that's a cool look. Like, don't get me wrong, I like that look on Mayori, but they use that a lot in the fillers of the anime, and I just realized, like, dude, they probably could have just come up with a brand new design, because Mayori kind of changes his design sort of like every arc anyway, so they could have just like made up a brand new design from Mayori during like the Zanpakuto Rebellion and then during the Ray Guy arc, and I think they kept it the same design the entire way, and they could have had some fun with that, and I'm just like, yeah. So anyway, this is what he looked like back then. And Nemu is basically being born in like a clone tank, and he's like, yes, good morning, number 7. And then we get the titles, and we get right back to it. We're gonna have her backstory, her flashback kind of interspliced throughout the episode. So Nemu provides a drug called the flesh mending drug, the Hojikuzai. This is something also that Mayori uses in his fight with Uryu way back in the day in the Soul Society. It's a very powerful drug that allows you to just regrow limbs. Now, I'm assuming, ew, that's gooey. Why does it have to swell up like that? Okay. Anyway, I'm assuming this drug is like keyed to only work for Mayori's blood, like Mayori's DNA, which is also mentioned that like Nemu has the same blood as Mayori, right? So effectively is like his daughter, I guess. But at any rate, it works only for them because, like, you imagine if it was so easy to use this, like all the, like, I guess Yamamoto didn't want to use this shit, when Yamamoto lost an arm, although Yamamoto was very proud also. He chose to not get his arm back. He could have gotten his arm back if he wanted to. He chose not to. Orihime would have healed him. Okay, and like Soifone lost an arm in the Fei Karakura arc, and she has her arm back by the 1,000-Year Blood War arc. And I think that was mentioned specifically. That was actually not Orihime that healed Soifone. I think it was actually just the medical technology had improved in the Soul Society by that point. So like Unohana and Isane were able to repair Soifone's arm. So Yamamoto could have definitely gotten his arm back. It's just that he chose not to. But with Mayori and Nemu, they make it seem so easy because all you got to do is just like inject like one little dosage of this Hojikuzai shit, and then all of a sudden you just get your arm back. Also, Nemu uses it too to grow her arm back, something that's not shown in the manga, actually. You can infer that that's what happened, but they actually show it here, which is really good. And Nemu also brings up something very fascinating, that I noticed you did not touch the the chemistry set before you left. You didn't like rifle through the drug cabinet before you went off to a fight. Because Mayori is like, yes, we're going to the Soul Palace. Yes, I need to go through, yes, this drug and this elixir. Oh, yes, all of the, this concoction. Yes, all these things I'm going to bring with me. Oh, it's going to be so much fun. He didn't do that this time. Now, is that just because he didn't have time to, because a lot of other crazy shit was going on in the meantime, or did he choose not to go through the medicine cabinet for a specific reason? I don't know. It's an interesting kind of take where Mayori is like, I see you've been watching me closely as of late. That's rather creepy. Please quit doing that, you know? So I don't know if it's like, I don't think Mayori went here to like the idea that he's gonna die or something like that, but he didn't go into this fight like he normally does with the normal amount of preparation he makes. So I'm not really sure what's up with that. Maybe he just forgot that too, okay? Maybe he's gaining more human emotions and that's causing him to, like, his human emotion stat has gone up a little bit and his mad scientist stat has lowered because of the balancing of how that works. You know, maybe that's how it goes down there. But anyway, they look over at the giant hand, and thankfully Pernida was very nice and allowed them to have this long conversation and heal up and everything. So here is the plan. Mayori jumps off the building, activates the boots, goes like into turbo. You know, you'll never catch me, Pernida. Not when I switch into maximum overdrive. You know, so he activates that. Pernida just creates a bunch of bows on each fingertip and just starts like, just starts barraging him. He's able to dodge these pretty adeptly. It might be a situation also like when he was using his sword with the modified sensor in it when he was fighting Toshiro's zombie. It was just like, maybe his boots are programmed to like dodge every single oncoming projectile or something. That's pretty neat. So anyway, he has a radio inside of him, so he's just like, yes, Nemu, can you hear me? Hi, yes, I can. And we see this awesome scene of Nemu just running down the side of a building, and the music is playing in the background. It's really intense. It's like, this is good, this is good. He's like, okay, here's the plan, Nemu. I'm flying around to scatter highly concentrated narcotics over a wide area. It'll get him super toasted, but also it'll numb the nerve agents, so you should be able to walk on the ground without fear of being turned into a giant meatball. Now, unfortunately, if I use this concentration of narcotics, I'm also going to be a little bit affected too, but that's all right. I've been schmackered many a time, so I should be all right. However, my reflexes are going to be a little bit dull, so I'm going to have to rely on you for this, okay? So there is a special agent called a nerve coagulating agent or a nerve freezing agent, okay? And he's given this syringe to Nemu, and it is a drug. It's not a narcotic that when it comes in contact with nerves or blood vessels or anything, it coagulates and freezes them in the current state they're in, okay? So, for example, as Mayori says here, this is just the narcotic, like the anesthetic that he's, like, spraying around the battlefield to kind of, you know, numb all the nerves and on the ground so Nemu can walk around on it. But Mayori says, you know, when this drug reaches them, open eyelids will stay open. Contracted hearts won't expand. I'm not sure exactly what he's made out of, but I've confirmed that these insides are at least covered with blood, so this should probably work. There's also a scene where he's like going on and on about it, and Nemu is just like, you're too loud, you know, Mayori-sama, please be a little quieter. And he's just like, shut up, I'm doing my mad scientist thing here. I'm doing my thing. Calm down, Nemu. Anyway, yeah, I know there's blood inside of him. Not really sure what else is in there. Not really even sure what the blood is made out of, but it's blood. So there's probably something in there that this nerve coagulating agent can coagulate. Coagulate, Nemu! Coagulate the giant hand! All right? I just like saying coagulate. It's a fun word you don't get to say very often, right? Oh, man, you're injecting antifreeze into this fucking thing. All right, so Nemu lands on the ground. She's able to step on the nerves, no problem. She injects the drug. It goes up the nerve strand. Remember, there are 3 Pernidas right now because Pernida ripped off its fingers and, you know, multiplied itself. So the first 2 begin to be like, begin to freeze up and lock up and things. And the last one, the main body, actually, I think the main body is also affected. This is one of the clones that at the last minute slices off the finger, stopping the flow of the drug, which is, like, honestly, an easy solution to that problem. Like, that's not even something you really need high intelligence to understand. It's like, oh, this you know, infection or this drug is affecting my other 2 bodies. I'll just cut off the nerve that's connecting me to them before it affects me as well. And now Pernida is talking exactly like Zaraki. Kurotsuchi, that's not enough to kill me. And Mayori's like, oh, shit, is he up to Zaraki's level? Oh, that's not good. That's not good at all. Nemu is not fast enough to dodge Kenpachi's speed, which, by the way, she is actually going to be revealed here in a second to be able to do that. So, power scalers rejoice. I think Nemu is faster than Kenpachi Zaraki, confirmed by Mayori Kurotsuchi. Second smartest man in the entire Soul Society right there. So, just as Mayori is shouting for Nemu to get away, at that same time, the main body that was covered in the nerve coagulating agent sheds. And it's revealed that it's using the power of the Ashisogi Jizo Matai Fukin Shotai. So it was able to create an epidermal layer just like the Ashisogi Jizo, and so the coagulating agent was able to freeze the epidermal layer, but then, you know, Pernida just shed it just like the Bankai did, and that solves the problem there. So now the nerve coagulating agent gambit did not work, and Nemu is about to die, right? And we all remember this scene from the manga. We all remember this scene with Nemu's missile launchers. Yeah, let's just go with that one. Yeah. You know what's interesting? Somebody actually sent a question to Kubo over the club outside thing and was just like, why did you draw Nemu's boobs so big in Thousand Year Blood War? Like they got like buffed all of a sudden. And Kubo's response was like, are they bigger? I've always drawn them with the idea that they were huge. And it's like, okay, Kubo, just, yeah. But no, I mean, like, if you go back to the Soul Society arc, they are not that big. They are not that big. They got giga buffed in this arc for sure. And this is back at the Squad 12 barracks when they're using, like, the laboratory and everything, trying to prepare for, you know, Quincy's invasion and trying to protect everything and all that. And these 3 vials get a of the console unit. And Akon comes over, and he's just like, hey, we have no time to be messing around. We have to restore all the lab functions before the captains come back. Oh, these things? Well, I guess we have time for a story. Oh, I can also tell you the story about how Mayori created Nemu. I guess I could tell you that story. Why not? We have some time to spare for some lore information anyway. And by the way, her name is Kuna, the woman that has like the chains as like a ponytail. I always thought that was a cool little design for her little lab assistant there. So these are the original Nemuri projects, okay? Like the sleeping projects. This is 1, 2, and 3. And actually you could see from the right to the left, they get slightly bigger as they go. You know, these didn't make it much beyond like the zygote phase or like the early embryonic phase. Like you could see they get slightly bigger, but beyond that, so that's like 1, 2, and 3. So yeah, there's not going to be like a deep, in-depth story. It's not like, wait, Nemuri Nanago? Like Nemu has like 6 other sisters out there in the world somewhere like that. This isn't like, oh, do you remember My Life as a Teenage Robot? Does anybody remember My Life as a Teenage Robot with like Jenny's XJ9 and she has like the other XJs and stuff like that? Yeah, it's not like that. These are technically her, I guess, older siblings, I suppose, right here in the little containers that fit inside of a desk. So Akon brings up that he's just like, oh yeah, these really bring back memories here. But anyway, yeah, these are the corpses of the first 3. They didn't make it very far here. We kept failing at the very beginning. Now, the 4th one was able to develop some like brain tissue and stuff like that, and it was with the technology of number 4 that they were able to like improve like brain surgery and stuff. And then number 5 made it, I guess, yeah, number 5 made it to the embryo stage. So yeah, those ones didn't even make it to, like, they are literally like clumps of cells, like zygotes, and that's it. But the 5th one was able to get to the embryonic stage, or maybe like the fetus stage might be more appropriate, because the 5th one is how Mayori modified his Bankai. So that's the reason Ashisogi Jizo looks like a fetus. That's the reason why, because it's a giant fetus that I don't know how he used the technology there to modify his Bankai. I don't ask questions, but that's what he did, okay? And then finally, the 6th one only made it to like the age of 2. And then the cells stopped dividing at age 2, and then it died, okay? And so with the death of number 6, they fixed that issue. We're actually going to find out how Mayori fixed that problem by the end of the episode. That's actually the way that Pernida is ultimately defeated with that information. But, you know, Nemu, number 7, was the first one to actually grow to adulthood without dying, okay? So that's why she's the first successful one, right? It was the life expectancy of synthetic soul cells. So they had to figure out some way around that, like, barrier. And also, keep in mind, I also want to bring up that it was confirmed that, like, Jinta and Uru, who are the kids at the Urahara shop, they are also mod souls as well that Kisuke created. So, it's interesting because at the end of the episode, Mayori is going to be like, I created life. But like Urahara might have actually done that too. And I don't know if Mayori is aware of that. But at the very least, we know that Jinta and Ururu are also modified souls. I don't think that is the same thing as Nemu. But yeah, they are. So as Pernida is about to attack Nemu braces herself for a jumping position. She's channeling her She's channeling her inner Pito from Hunter x Hunter, and then she jumps and she rockets and she's flying, ladies and gentlemen. She jumps off the ground and just causes a giant impact. She's like, shoom, like a giant missile flying straight at Pernida. Okay. So then now back to this flashback here. She's talking to Akon about it. And Akon basically comes to the conclusion. He first of all, he's like, why are you talking to me about this? I don't have any reason. I don't understand why Mayori does what he does. As if I understand that guy. As if I'm the dude that understands Mayori. I don't know. But he basically comes down to realize that, like, you know, Mayori has developed like some like fatherly protection instincts a little bit, and he maybe is embarrassed by this at how much Nemu has learned and stuff like that, and so he stopped calling her Namuri Nanago and just started calling her Nemu. And you know, you've been aware of this, and so you know, she really likes to be called Namuri Nanago. So he's like, oh, what if I just pretended to be ignorant? Would I then allow him to, like, would he call me the name that I like again? And Akon tells her, no, probably not. Just your job is to grow up and learn something new every single day, and you are fulfilling Mayori's dream while you are doing that, okay? And so it is through that process that he's becoming embarrassed and he doesn't want to call you by the name. And so he's not going to be openly about this because he's Mayori, of course. But there's no point in you trying to hide it at this point, like trying to pretend like you're not advancing, because that's what, you know, that's what your creation is. That's what you're meant to do. You know, you're meant to get stronger and get to better and, you know, smarter. And that's everything how that works, right? So that's the flashback there. But Mayori is calling her Namuri Nanago again. So, you know, this kind of like makes her reminisce about all this stuff. It's impossible to think you would not evolve. So she charges and destroys one of Pernida's arms. In fact, I think that is the main body because it has the mark on the side of it. So she just rockets through the hand, destroys that body, grabs Mayori to get him out of the way. And, you know, he's like, how did you do this? Where did you get this power? The parameters, Nemu! The parameters! You gave me this power. I was able to... So she's able to control the output of her power within like a 0.8% of tissue collapse. So what she's doing here is she's like, okay, how fast can I move up to the less than 1% of me actually falling apart and dying, of pushing my soul too far. So that's how she's doing this. And that's actually a really cool method to fight. It's just like, okay, my soul ruptures at 93.4%. All right, let's go 93.3%. You know, that's kind of what she's doing, a little bit similar to that, where she's going right to the utmost, right before the breaking point. So that's how she's able to, like, jump so fast and you know, completely just decimate one of Pernida's hands. Obviously, she wouldn't be able to keep this up for long periods of time. She only mentions she's able to maintain this for another 400 seconds. Oh, my God, 400 seconds. Just convert it to minutes, Nemu. Oh, my God, I got to do math here. All right, 60 seconds in a minute. Let's see here. You know, 40 divided by 400 divided by 60. Can I do that? He's like, I need a calculator. Making me bust out a calculator for this shit. I was like, let's see here. 400 divided by 60. Oh, it's 6.66. Oh my God, Kubo. Oh my God. Really? 6.66 minutes. Like, okay, I get it. All right. Okay, I get it. All right. Anyway, I can last another 400 seconds using that power. So even giving her orders at this point, it's like not enough. It's just like, no. It's kind of like the scene at the end of Hellsing with Alucard when Alucard's like disappearing and Integra is like, no, Alucard, don't go away. And he's just like, I must disobey you, Master. I can't. Integra, I must disobey you. And so it's this situation here where Nemu realizes that she wants to protect her dad. She wants to protect the person that gave her life. And even despite all the horrible things that he has done and all the abuse that she has suffered from Mayori, the best I can show my growth is by protecting you. So this is my prime directive. I am showing you my prime directive. And he's like, Nemu, no! So she jumps up and she uses soul cutting or soul shaving. She rips out 6% of her overall soul and uses a giant fuck-off energy cannon. Oh my god, this looks so damn cool in the anime. Gikon Jurinju, and just blasts giant fuck-off energy cannon right in the center of Pernida. Now, we get the cutaways, and I'll read those in a second. Now, listen, that's a really, really cool power that Nemu did. Really badass. You're not going to have me say anything else about the actual attack. Like, shaving off part of your soul and then using it as like a projectile. You can't get more metal than that. Did this have any possible way of actually killing Pernida? No. No, it didn't. And we'll get to that after we do the cutaways. Okay, so we get Ashisoki Jizo first. The Zanpakuto of the 12th Division Captain Kurotsuchi Mayori. When released, its grotesque form manifests as a childlike figure with a gaping maw reflecting Mayori's eccentric and macabre personality. Its ability lies in its unparalleled mastery over toxins, paralyzing any opponent it cuts by severing their nervous system. This leaves victims unable to move while fully conscious. Ashisoki Jizo's Bankai, Konjiki Ashisoki Jizo, Golden Ashisoki Jizo, transforms it into a massive caterpillar-like creature with an infantile face. The Bankai emits a deadly, customized poison that affects only Mayori's intended targets while leaving allies unharmed. I don't think that's the case. It's more about, like, anybody that shares Mayori's blood. So, like, Nemu would be unaffected, or rather Mayori, like, Nemu has, like, the antitoxin for that, so she can kind of survive that. This Bankai further embodies Mayori's scientific genius and cruelty, making Ashisoki Jizo a terrifying weapon in battle. It certainly is. It's one of the more interesting ones, for sure. Then we have Namuri Nanago, and we have the shot of her standing, you know, as Pernida is about to attack, but we also see an image of her younger self next to her, which I think is a cool little display there. Okay, Namuri Nanago, Sleeping Number 7, refers to a creation from the Nemuri Project, developed by Kurotsuchi Mayori, the captain of the 12th Division. The Nemuri Project focuses on the innovative use of advanced spiritual technology and genetics, with Namuri Nanago being one of its most perfected results. Its purpose is to assist in Mayori's research and combat activities, showcasing highly specialized abilities tailored to specific needs. Namuri Nanago is capable of executing highly precise actions even in extreme circumstances. It is said that its detailed genetic structure allows for instantaneous decision-making and adaptability, enabling it to carry out complex tasks with perfection. However, its loyalty and functionality are designed solely for Mayori's command, reflecting his unique and calculated approach to innovation. All right, so there we go. That's what we got there. And once again, keep in mind, that was ChatGPT. Not all of that might have been 100% accurate. Mayori created AI. He created advanced AI. There you go. All right, so really cool attack. Had no hope or chance of destroying Pernida. Pernida literally can regenerate from, like, any point. So even if you completely obliterated one of the hands with the cannon, that's not what the cannon even did. The cannon, like, destroyed the top part of the hand, and it could easily regrow. It blew it into, you know, a bunch of bits, and the bits can reform, and we've seen that. So it is Nemu ultimately that is going to result in the death of Pernida, but thinking that this technique would have been able to work is not very smart of her, I guess I should say. But it did end up working in the end, I guess. It's just Nemu dies, so it's like, Nemu, why are you charging in? Why are you using this technique? Why? He's like, I gotta show Mayori how strong I've become. It's like, great, but this isn't gonna be enough, Nemu. So she does this really epic scene where she obliterates part of the hand. It flies off into a bunch of chunks, and there's a moment there where it's like, oh, did she do it? Did she win? No, she didn't. And at this point, a song cues up, and it's a song we haven't heard really before. It's from Shiro Sagisu's songbook that was released in 22 when the new anime was released back then. Can you believe it's been over 2 years already? Crazy. Yeah, October of 22 was when the Thousand Year Blood War came out. But Shiro Sagisu released a songbook, and this is the song You're Here to Stay. And it's very unique because it has lyrics to it. It actually has a singing voice. And it's a really good song. And I'll put a link to the song below in the description. You go listen to it over on YouTube. But really good song, really emotional song. And whenever there's lyrics in a Bleach song, so like Number One is another big example of that. Nothing Can Be Explained is a creepy variant. This is just a very sad variant. So the different chunks of Pernida all grow eyes at the same time, and they just invade Nemu's body with their nerves and just shred her. She explodes in just a massive gore pile whenever they do that. And Mayori just looks on as just like, oh, Nemu, no. No, Nemu. So they begin to form together as they're reforming. So this makes more sense because Pernida does have to reform after Nemu's attacks, but it does take a little while. Mayori kind of lays down and kind of goes and like drops, and he's just like, oh my god, she's gone, she's dead, it's gonna take me so long to make another one. But then Sile shows up inside of Mayori's head, as kind of like his like inner voice or something. He's like, hey, how you been? It's been a while, huh? Yeah, hey, remember that shit you were telling me about when you killed me? About perfection not existing? It's just like, I despise perfection. You know, if something is truly perfect, that's it. The bottom line becomes, there is no room for improvement or ability. You know, I can't remember the entire speech, but the perfection speech in both dubs, in the original Japanese and in the English dub, is really good. So this is the whole thing. This is basically Mayori's like inner voice telling him about like, hey, you're the one that said perfection could never exist. So isn't it a good thing that Nemu died? Isn't it a good thing that she got exploded and you could go and make another one, and then you could get even closer to that one, and then that one will explode, and then you'll get another one? And it's like, isn't that the whole point of being a scientist? I smell hypocrisy here, Mayori. You know, perfection is despair. I'm sure you say something like that. But you began to feel, you began to feel like you were proud of that useless meat doll, and you began to think that she was perfect, huh? Huh? Yeah. And then, oh my God, look at that as Pernida is reforming. God, that looks creepy. It's like, oh god, you know, Kubo's also gone on to say that, like, why do you keep bringing like Sile back and all these things? And Kubo just basically said, I just like drawing the dude. He's a really creepy looking dude. Yeah, it's pretty neat. I don't know, by the way. So this might be a scene from the next episode. I'd have to look and check, but I did see an image, like a preview of the next episode, that Stark is actually going to show up in a similar capacity that like Sile is showing up here to talk to Mayori, like inside of his mind. Stark shows up as like Ghost Stark and talks to Shunsui. I don't know if that's confirmed, but if that's the case, that's really cool. I say I don't know if that's confirmed because like I only saw the one image of it and I wasn't sure if that was, I didn't really check, so it might have been like fan art or something like that. I'm not really sure. But if it is true, that's going to be really cool because I really want to see Stark again. Like Stark showing up and talking to Shunsui about like his fight with Lilia and stuff like that. That would be cool in the same way that it happened with Sile here. So there's this moment where Sile is kind of like high and mighty, even though it really is just Mayori's own mind talking to him, kind of playing tricks on him right now. If it were me, I would be laughing out loud right now. So Mayori just grabs him and just crushes him and just like, no, get away. Like those thoughts are not the way that I am viewing this, okay? So instead, he kind of at the moment returns to the way he always is. He's like, okay, so you're just going to eat what left of Nemu then. Yeah, go right ahead. Go ahead and devour her. By the way, in case you're curious why Pernida would do that, the idea is that whatever, you know, they devour makes him evolve even further. So it would make sense why immediately after killing Nemu, he would be like, oh, I gotta go devour her corpse or something like that, right? So Mayori approaches and is just like, you can have her corpse, but I'm taking the brain. And so he connects this this little amplifier. He connects the amplifier to his head. He has a little headphone jack inside of there, which, I mean, okay. I mean, hey, you don't have to worry about finding the cord, you know, like the audio cord to plug into your headphones or whatever. You just plug it directly into your brain. Okay, that's one way to do it, I suppose. So no, it's not headphones. It's like an electrical device. I'm not really sure why he has to plug it into his head, maybe to get power or something. But he grabs the brain and he activates this like little ability of like, it's just like an electrical barrier to kind of like shock Pernida to like knock it back. It's just like, it's like, you're being numbed, aren't you? So it's just like a little electrical device he has. Not really sure why he has to plug it into his head though. So, Mayori has the last laugh here because it's like, hey, you could go ahead and finish eating her if you want, but if you don't finish soon, you are going to explode. And so Pernida's like, wait, what? What do you mean? What do you mean? Well, you see, you've eaten Nemu's pituitary gland, and you see, in order to get past that cell division barrier we had with number 6, I had to make sure that our selves were just constantly, rapidly divide and divide. It's kind of like cancer. You have cancer now, Pernida. And he's like, wait, what? I have cancer? What does that mean? It means this. It means this. So his body, the cells just begin to replicate beyond, their death. And then so, like cancer does, actually, it's so hard to get rid of cancer cells for that reason. They begin to just divide to past their theoretical limits, and all the other things inside of Nemu's body, like inside of her brain, were able to regulate that so that she wouldn't explode. But Mayori has the brain, and that he doesn't. So, Pernida just is going to explode, and that's how the battle is won, and that's how they ultimately defeat him. It's controlled directly by the brain's basal ganglia, which is linked to the parietal lobe. I have that, and you do not, so yeah, you're going to die here. Let me keep it simple so you understand. When you take in that organ without the brain, you die. Yeah, so this is also something, this is basically how they defeated Sile, in kind of the same way, when Sile was reborn through Nemu, which was way more graphic in the manga than in the anime, by the way. In the anime, it's just kind of like a pink cloud that he kind of emerges from. In the manga, it's way more gooey. But anyway, yeah, it's that drug that was inside of Nemu that allowed, everything to slow down in his perception of time, and that's how Sile was able to be defeated by Mayori. So it's kind of the same exact method here. It's just this resulted in Nemu's true death, and he's going to have to go. But he does have his brain, her brain, so he will be able to, create a new one, I guess, a little easier. But yeah, all of the body parts and all the other hands just fall down and begin to explode and rupture, and he's just walking away now. He's like, yes, I win. Pernida lost. Mayori Kurotsuchi victory. Oh, God. Oh, I wrecked my knees. Oh, now my knees got fucked. Ah, damn it. So some of the nerves on the ground were still a little active there. Yeah, it's kind of like if you kill a wasp or something and you go and try to pick it up, the stinger might still be throbbing a little bit. You might still get stung with that. That actually happened to me one time. Don't do that. But yeah, so he falls down. He's like, oh, this is a pain in the ass. Okay, well, I guess I'll slowly crawl my way over to the recovery pods. Oh, hey, guys. So Ikaku and Yumachika are there. They come back, and they're just like, hey, you protected the captain, so we kind of owe you our lives here for that. So he kind of shit-talks them, but they understand where the score is at this point. Like, Mayori won. He beat, Sternritter C, Pernida, Park-Joss. So they're going to help him out here. So they hoist him up, and he's like, okay, fine, if you want to help me, I suppose. A few ri from here, like 30 houses north of here or whatever. Check on the rubble. There are these recovery pods. Don't ask me how he got these here. Like, that's what I thought. That's what I said when they arrived at the Soul Palace a little while ago. I thought there was going to be a little scene where they actually show them arriving with these pods. But no, they're just here now, so just kind of just go with it, I guess. Maybe they were part of the Seirete and they got lifted up with the rest of it. I guess, maybe. I don't know. At any rate, these are the pods that Toshiro and Rangiku were placed in. There's 2 other pods back there as well. We don't know what's in those. We would assume Kensei and Rose. But Kensei and Rose, they're kind of done for the rest of this arc. They don't show up anywhere else. They show up in the epilogue, but they don't show up anywhere else in the battle here. So I'm guessing Kensei and Rose have to be in those. Maybe they will show up later? I don't know, because Toshiro and Rangiku come out of these pods, and then Mayori and Kenpachi go in the same ones, but those ones never open in the back, so I'm not really sure what's up with that. Maybe we'll see some extra scenes with the visors, like Hachi and Lisa and Hiyori, maybe. So Toshiro and Rangiku are no longer zombies. Mayori says, yeah, it's probably shortened their lifespan a bit, but, they're back to normal, so they should be fine. Toshiro walks out, and he just kind of just like, hey, Kurotsuchi, thanks. Thanks for getting me back in the battle. You can tag out now. Yeah, it's whatever. You go on, you fan favorite Diamond Dust Rebellion, whatever. You go and you do your thing. So, Mayori and Kenpachi get placed in there. I love how Mayori is just like, oh, you can place Kenpachi in the other one, I guess, in the other empty one, implying that the other 2 are full right now. Yumachika and Ikaku just kind of leave him in there, because they really have no other choice because, you know, Kenpachi can't stand and his arm is ripped off and he's unconscious. So it's like he has no choice but to heal up in the recovery pod a la Dragon Ball Z. And so they seal up Kenpachi, and then they both bow to Mayori and like, thank you for saving Captain Zaraki. And then they head off as well. And Mayori is like, man, I've been getting thanked a lot today. I'm not really sure I enjoy that. It's also very creepy. Anyway, so the pod begins to seal and be filled with, like, the recovery fluid or whatever, and Mayori looks down at the brain inside of his Shiakusho, and he's like, but I have evolution. I created a soul from scratch that has evolved on its own. I've surpassed you, Kisuke Urahara. Once again, not really sure if he has, but hey, he can think that. That's why it's sleeping number 7. He's better than Urahara in his dreams. But we get a post-credit scene with this one. So this is actually pretty interesting. Okay, so the fight with Mayori and Pernida is concluded. We now cut to inside of the Silburn where Latato and Giselle are. And they were like, oh, we came out inside of the arena. So the arena got moved up here. We never saw the arena before, so we get to learn a little bit more about how the Silburn is structured. And then an army of Soldat arrive. Now, at first, when I saw these dudes, I was like, oh my god, how many more of these fucking Quincy's live in here? Like, how are they not all dead yet? Yeah, we'll get to that in a moment. But the Soldat arrive, and so Latato and Giselle, and this is not in the manga, by the way. None of this is in the manga. So it's like, okay, we're going to fight these Soldats. So it's just Giselle and Latato, which, to be honest with you, they could probably take on this many Soldat on their own. At that point, Giselle activates her zombie power, and then Zombie Meninas McAllen, and Zombie Candace Catnip arrive, and they strike like an idol pose. Like, yeah, you know. Interesting that their Volt standigs are a little different. So Meninas's usually takes the appearance of hearts. It now takes the appearance, it's still pink, but it takes the appearance of Giselle's little skulls with the hearts as the eye holes. That's cute. And then over with Candace's, she now has like horns, and her lightning bolts are now like not as straight lined. They're now like more jagged, you know, like they're just like corrupted and like devil, like she's a devil basically is what that comes from. And she also has little skulls down there with lightning bolts as eyes. Those were really cool designs. Bambietta's not in her Volt standing, but it would probably have a similar appearance. And Latato is just like, oh, so you kept their zombie bodies down below, and then they got brought up with the rest of them. See, that makes sense. Like, their bodies were still down in the Soul Society. Then when Yuha raised everything up to make the Varvelt, they came up with them. All right, so maybe it's the same deal with the pods, I guess. So yeah, they strike a little like J-pop girl band pose or whatever, and it's like time to fight. And so they start brawling. Zombie Meninas is just punching through all of the ones with her power, and then Candace is electrocuting them. Latato's devouring them. But we find out they're not regular soldiers. They're not like regular Quincy's that were just wearing the masks. You find out underneath them they have like Yuha's face with the different eyes. So any Soldat, either the Soldat were all dead and Yuha used his powers to bring them back as zombies, or like he just made new Soldat and just dressed them up the way they used to look, but they're now just like puppets that he is manipulating himself, you know, like they're all coming back to control him. You know, either way, whatever, they're like, oh, this is, what the fuck? Like, they're even surprised by this. Like, they didn't expect to see this shit. So we cut away from that, like the creepy Soldat faces. Then we see Hashwolf. This is a scene that's taken from the manga, but it's modified a little bit. So in the manga, it's just one Quincy he's having a conversation with. It's one dude that has like a mustache that we've never seen before or after, and he's just kind of there. So they took that guy out because it really made no sense for that guy to like randomly be there because he wasn't a Sternritter. He was just a dude. So instead, Hashwolf is discussing Uryu's whereabouts to 4 Soldat, who are also still probably the weird, you know, eyeball Soldat that are controlled by Yuha. He mentions, why is Uryu Ishida in Ein Ost? So in the manga, it was Zwei Ost. So Ein, Zwei, Drei, like 1, 2, and 3 in German. So for some reason, they changed it here. It was and Ost means branch. So the different sections of the Varvelt. So first branch, second branch, third, fourth, fifth, you know, the 5 branches of the Varvelt. So in the manga, he says Zwei, so second branch. Here he says Eins, so first branch. I don't know why, but, you know, that's why. And it's spelled A-I-N here, which I think it's E-I-N originally, I think is in German the way you would spell the number 1. So yeah, I know this because in 6th grade we had to learn how to count to 10 in German. Let's see if I can remember, and everybody that knows German can make fun of me because this was like over 20 years ago. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 2. Which ones did I fuck up? Let me know. Let me know down below. All right, there we go. In any case, he's like, yeah, why is he going over there? You guys go. Don't let him out of your sight because he does not trust Uryu. Then Basby shows up and wipes out all of the soldat. And he's like, hey, Hashwolf, you're really obsessed with Uryu lately. Why are you obsessed with Uryu and you're not obsessed with me? I'm your friend too, right? And Hashwolf's like, oh god, this guy. And that's the end of the episode. And we get the poem here. And the next episode is Bleach number 37, Shadows Gone, finishing off the fight between Shunsui Kyoraku, Nanao Issei, and Lilia Barrow, Sternritter X, the X-Axis. Maybe we'll even get to see Izuru in the next episode, maybe. I don't know, maybe. I'm really curious on how they're going to handle Izuru in, like, the next core after this, like, because Izuru got the one panel in the one chapter, and that was it. That was all he got. So hopefully we'll get more of Izuru here. But anyway, yeah. That was a really good episode. We got some anime original stuff. We got a really good song here, and the conclusion of the fight between Mayori and Nemu. So yeah, thanks for watching BAN-KAST, everybody. Make sure to go subscribe to the BAN-KAST YouTube channel and check out the Spotify. Yeah, Spotify. That's it. That's the word I was thinking of. Spotify and Google Play. It's all on there. Thanks for watching. Teching, signing out. Later, everybody.